We're live.
Yay, we are live. I was trying to go see if I could watch it on the channel just to make sure that we're showing up.
Yeah, I just pulled it up because I was like, I forgot that we didn't double check that. But we're live. Yay.
Yay.
It
Welcome.
really feels like it's been a long time.
We've said that I think every live so far this quarter.
I know. Because I'm like, dang, the last time that I showed my face was for the Black Book Summit. That was the last time I showed my face.
Oh, that's right. You haven't shown your face in a long time.
Because normally I'm doing my hair, but that didn't work out today. So here we are.
Oh my goodness.
It's like we're clearly going to chat about something random until people come.
Yes.
So how'd your weekend go?
It's gone by so fast. And I always feel like I never really have time to do everything that I need to.
Yeah.
I feel like Saturday is usually like my rest day. So I kind of take like a Sabbath on Saturday, and I usually don't do too much on Saturday unless I have plans with people or I made promises that I was going to be somewhere.
Right.
But usually I keep it pretty chill on Saturday. And then Sunday is when I'm just scrambling to get everything done. And of course, there's never enough hours in the day. So
yeah, that's pretty much. I woke up today thinking today was Saturday.
How's that possible?
Why? I don't know. I don't know. But when I tell you, I got up this morning and was like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna just take it easy this morning. I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and I did all of my laundry before I realized that today was Sunday. So by then I had completely missed church. Are
you doing virtual church?
Yeah, I'm doing virtual church, so I can obviously just go play it back, but I won't get like praise and worship and stuff like that because that's only for the live. So I'm like, well, okay. And then my parents are supposed to be coming this week.
Oh, wow. They're coming.
And and then also I had new releases on Friday. And so all the orders I got on Friday and yesterday, I need to have them ready to be picked up by the post office tomorrow. So it's
been a lot.
I was like, oh, and then my mom was like, yeah, we're going to come on like Tuesday. I was like, okay, I've got a couple days. She was like, you have one? I was like, wait, what? I was like, oh no, wait.
You lost track of the days.
Yeah. But I went to Sephora today for the first time in over a year and a half.
I know. I saw your story on Instagram. How was
very
that?
Happy.
You seemed like you were back in your happy place.
I laughed because I don't know if it's all Sephora's, but the Sephora here that I go to, there was like this fenced off line. You know, they had like a VIP line, and then you get to the front and they're like, oh, well, what can I help you with today? Like, do you need to be matched with anything or anything like that? So I'm like, oh, well, I need to be matched for foundation because obviously I haven't been sun-kissed by melanin yet. So I need to be refreshed. So she's like, okay, what's your name? I'm like, it's Brittany. She's like, okay. So as I'm walking in, you hear go, we have a young lady named Brittany who needs to be matched for the Fenty foundation. She's wearing a black shirt, and I'm like, so as I'm like walking over to the counter, this lady comes up and she hands me a bag and she's like, you're Brittany, you need to be matched. Like, let me go, like, here's the hand sanitizer. Let me make sure that that's all together. And I was like, what? I just want to point out that like this, I would come here just to be treated like an exclusive citizen for like here on out, because she matched me for the foundation, the concealer, and the powder. And
I feel like that's the kind of VIP treatment we all need.
Right. I was like, I know y'all are doing this for sanitary purposes, but I feel very taken care of. Like I would tip y'all today if y'all took tips because it was very weird. And then she's like, oh, like it's been a lot of people coming in, like trying to get new foundation. And she's like, do you want to get foundation for like the skin tone that you'll be in the summertime? And I was like, I respect you for asking me that, but I'm not going to be out here being reckless. Like, I'm still going to be out here social distancing, and like, I'm going to go visit my friend in July, but like, we have zero intentions of being out in the streets.
People are like getting out. People are out and about.
They're like, COVID who? I got the vaccine. I was like, you do know you can still get COVID with the vaccine, right?
Well, but it makes it so it's not as bad. I'm not going to lie. I do feel a lot safer with it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the problem is like, we don't know how it's going to react to the other strands. And then they're already talking about us needing a third shot in like 6 months.
Yeah, they are.
I was like,
did you hear about everything that's going on with the Johnson & Johnson one?
Yeah, the blood clots and stuff. I was like,
didn't they like pause it or something?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They paused it completely. So I was on the waiting list for that one. Obviously, I am no longer. So I got to go back and talk to my doctor because I think it's the Moderna one that she thinks would react, that I would not react well to. And I'm just like, listen.
Just get Pfizer.
I told her, I was like, you want to just come to my appointment with an EpiPen?
No, not you thinking of a backup plan to save your life.
Because at this point, you're gonna need to have the vaccination to do international travel.
Yep.
So the way my brain is operating, it's like, if you're there with the EpiPen, and I have allergic reactions to all of the life-saving medicine, like penicillin, amoxicillin, I get asphyxiation. And I can die from those medicines.
That's so
annoying. I'm guessing because this one is so life-saving that I could potentially also affect that. It's very possible I could have an allergic reaction to this vaccine as well. So I was like, don't y'all want to just like, y'all got EpiPens, right? If I start doing this, just stab me in the thigh and like take me to the hospital. Like,
I can't. I really can't.
That's really how I feel right now.
I'm about to post because I just realized that we didn't post on Instagram that we were going live. Like we usually have our little post that we post, and we didn't today.
I completely forgot. Hi, audience. How are you guys doing today? You guys know we do our little 10-minute like chat before we go into these things. Deja said, I got Moderna, but I heard Pfizer is the best. I'm actually looking into Pfizer. Ironically, the county that I live in, because there's like a website where you can go see like where they're doing the shots and stuff. The county that I live in, they're only offering Moderna. And based on my research, I think I feel more comfortable with Pfizer. So for that, I'd have to go to the county next door. So I'm on the wait list for the county next to me to get the Pfizer one because like I just want a little bit of normalcy back. I want to see my friends and family. Like I haven't seen them in forever. And I just like, we don't have to go out and do anything, but like, I do want to hang out with them. And like some of my friends have like 4-month-old babies. Like I want them to feel comfortable being around me. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this shot. Am I nervous? Yes. Did I order a new EpiPen from my doctor? Yes.
Oh my goodness. I think you'll be okay.
Yeah. Hey, Ted.
Hey, Ted. Welcome. It's been a while since we've seen you. Always good to see you in these streets. But yeah, I just posted on our Instagram real quick that we're live right now.
Yeah, that was my bad. Like I had the graphic up and everything, and today was a fail.
I understand. I mean, it happens. It definitely happens. So I listened to the audiobook. Oh, hi. Oh my gosh. Erica from the Broken Spine is here.
Hey, Erica. She said, I'm excited. I'm getting mine Tuesday, National Weed Appreciation Day.
I can.
That's also my sister's birthday. That's the funniest part about that. Like my sister is very excited that day was deemed, like she says that like she's only celebrating her birthday and she's celebrating her birthday to the best of her ability.
Read between the lines.
Right. I was like, okay, well, you are looking for a job, so let's not get too reckless.
Okay, still got to pass that drug test if they were asked medical one. But New York State just legalized it. So all of my friends over there are like, And I'm just like, wow.
I need to go to a place where it is legal. So, can't say that because, don't know who's watching. But I would like to go to a place where it's legal.
What are the places? It's like California, New York, Colorado. Where else? Are there other places? Those are like the places you hear about.
There's a couple places like Northwest, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it legal in Oregon? I don't think so, right?
I, for some reason, feel like it's Oregon that I'm thinking about. It's either or. I don't think it's Washington. To be honest, neither one of those places are places that I want to go to because I feel like I'm the wrong color to enjoy myself.
What? Why?
I don't know. I just, for some reason.
Maryland.
See, Maryland's another place. Listen, I know Texas is never going to do it. No. Because Texas is currently right now trying to make it child abuse to, care about your kid who is trans. So there's a whole thing there.
Wait, what? What's happening?
Yeah, you haven't. Man, there's been a lot of anti-trans legislation throughout the country. And some of the, and I put quotes around this, amazing ones have been Texas and Florida, where Florida has somehow put it in their brains that if they are questioning the legitimacy of the child's gender, the child would have to be checked. You know how like in the Olympics, when they think Black women are doing too amazing and they claim that it's clearly because like they've got something going on and they end up having a higher level of testosterone and they have to get checked. That's the same kind of logic that they're using for children.
Wow.
I was like, when it's on the news that a mother mollywopped some teacher
for
trying to check her child,
it's going to be a mess.
I'm going to start her GoFundMe. Guys, I hope she knocks that teacher clean out. Like,
get her out of jail.
Like, yeah, I was like, she does not deserve to be in jail. She was protecting her child. She does not deserve to be in jail.
How could it just doesn't make sense. What about the privacy of the child and their right to their own body and their right to so many things wrong here?
Yeah. Like I said, in Texas, they are trying to pass legislation where if a parent is okaying their child to start the transitioning process or like getting the therapy or even going forward with the surgery or even the hormone treatment, they're going to start labeling that as child abuse.
Oh.
I was like,
Wait, do they have like an age requirement for it? Like, are they saying
children? So like if they are a minor in your home and they are not of legal age.
Okay. So just under 18 across the board.
Parents will be charged for child abuse. I was like, that is so bad.
I don't have the mental capacity to go into that.
There's been so much going on that I'm like, what's funny is with everything that's been going on in like this America, even in the book world, America been shining. And I'm just like, maybe I should have found, like, this is my segue. I enjoyed this book, but I mean.
Can we talk about how I cried my eyes out at the end? And I listened to the audiobook, which was so beautiful. The audiobook was read by, hold on, let me pull up her name because I definitely want to give her props. She deserves it all. The audiobook, is it going to tell me? Hold on, this is going to bug me. So was read by Adjoa Anzo. Adjoa Anzo. And oh my goodness. Adjoa
we're going to have to talk about the ending like in its own section because.
Okay. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's do our intro. Welcome to another episode of Black Prose Club, where we talk about our book of the quarter. So this is where Black lives, Black books, and Black writers have always mattered. My name is Oshale of Oshi Reads.
I'm Brittany from Melanin Eclectic. Our lovely Troy is handling some business today, so she will not be able to join us, but you'll probably see her in the comments later on during this discussion.
Yes. And Brittany, since this was your quarter, I'm going to let you lead the rest of this introduction.
I guess technically it was like the past 2 months. So the book that I picked is Remote Control by Dr. Nnedi Okorafor. The original decision that I picked it is because of the cover. And then I picked it because it was short, and I feel like we haven't really done a short book. But then I'm going to read the premise for those who haven't read it. She's the adopted child of the angel of death. Beware of her. Mind her. Death guards her like one of its own. The day Fatima forgot her name, death paid a visit. From this moment on, she would be known as Sankofa, a name that meant nothing to anyone but her, the only tie to her family and her past. Her touch is death, and with a glance, a town can fall. And she walks alone, except for her fox companion, searching for the object that came from the sky and gave itself to her when the meteors fell, and when she was yet unchanged, searching for answers. But is there a greater purpose for Sankofa now that death is her constant companion? That is the premise of this book. I had to read it because, again, I have a lot of thoughts and I don't know where to put them. So the book starts off with Sankofa going to a bunch of strangers' house. I think it was on Christmas Eve, and being fed and being clothed, and her having this conversation with the children in the house. And as it starts, I'm like, is she gonna kill the kids?
You know what's interesting? That scene was so good. And just like it just opened right. I love when books start and it's in the middle of the action and there's no lead in, there's no exposition. It just boom, lands you right smack dab in the middle of the story. And I had that same feeling too, which is why I breathed such a sigh of relief when she told the little girl, I think her name was Ya.
Yeah.
The little girl was Ya. The boy was Albert or something really crazy.
Albert. It was a very American name considering.
Yeah, so the book takes place in a futuristic Ghana, but it's not so futuristic that it seems like it's very far in the future. It seems like the near future. And we kind of have this melding of like modern day Ghana with some futuristic elements. And like Brittany said, the book really opens up with her. You kind of get a feel right away for who she is and how people see her and how they fear her, because she comes into this town and everyone's literally like falling all over themselves in fear and just like, oh my God, what do you want? What do you need? Do you need shoes? Do you need this? Do you need this? Like, please don't kill us.
Right. Again, I really appreciate that. It was like, we're clear. This is how the world views her.
Yes. And in the beginning of the novel, Sankofa is 14. So she's 14, but they describe her as being like small and looks younger than her age.
Yeah.
And when she comes into this particular town, she heads straight for the biggest house, and where obviously the most affluent family lives. And she ends up having a conversation with the children of the house. And one is named Albert and the other one is named, I think his name is Albert. I really do.
Hold on.
It was an A name. And the little girl's name, Edward. Maybe it was Edward.
Edgar. It was Edgar.
It was something so bland. Like, okay, Edgar and Ya are the kids. And the family is described as this American family, obviously of Ghanaian descent. And the kids are completely Americanized. And the little girl hates coming to Ghana, and the little boy just like revels in coming to Ghana. And she has this crazy conversation with Edgar that is just so
that bizarre. Name is, like, that is such a random name plopped in here, in my opinion. I'm like, Edgar, why Edgar? But anyway.
Well, a lot of times African parents will do this where they'll give their kids, especially in West Africa, because West Africa was colonized by the British. So you'll see a lot of super British sounding names. And you'll also see where parents give their kids like an English name and then they have their traditional name. So the traditional name will be from their culture, their tribe, and have like a meaning. And then they'll have like an English name that they go by when they're in school and just like in Eurocentric spaces and things of that nature. So it's very common.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when I heard Edgar, I really wanted her to be like, "What's your real name?" That's
really
like in the conversation. I would have loved to hear what is the name that we call you? Is what I wanted to know. But I liked him because the innocence of children. It's one of those things where like the parents, the adults were freaking out, and he's like, "Bet, like, is it true that you do this though? Like, word, that's cool."
Yeah, he was very fascinated and curious about her. And the little girl, in contrast, was so shook, so afraid, just so terrified by the whole experience. And what threw me off is his name was Edgar and her name was Ya. I was like, I thought her name was going to be Sarah, Elizabeth.
And considering how much she wanted to go back to America, I assumed that she had like an English name that she would have used over that. And I was like, it's interesting that considering how much she loved being in Ghana and how much she hated it.
Do you like the way the story was written? Because it's like we open up in media res, which is like smack dab in the middle of the action with this scene. And then as Sankofa leaves the house and is walking down the road again, you know, all provision. Well, there's a scene that happens that shows us who she really is with like the guard, the gate guard.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. But then after that scene occurs, we kind of go into this flashback. So it's like we're in the present and then the story takes us back. And it's kind of like, to me, it's very much like a folktale is how it reads, because it opens up in the middle of the story and then it's like, do you want to know how she became, who she became? And then it like flashes all the way back.
I liked that aspect of the thing because she, like Dr. Nnedi Okorafor, literally just was like, boom, chick. And then it's like, oh, you wonder why she can do that? Well, here's why. When she was 4 years old, and I'm like, oh, okay. So we went a decade back.
All the way back.
And then not only that, but her story was told, her whole story to bring her back up to where she was told in a way that like I wanted to know more about her. I saw the stuff that happened to her like throughout her life. And then I was like, we got back up to like common day or present day. And I was like, but I still don't understand why she can do this.
Yeah, it's so interesting because going back one step, the scene with the guard really is what showed us like, okay, because with the scene with the kids, it's all hearsay, right? They're like, oh, she's, this, we've heard of her. She's this legend. And then the scene with the guard is like, okay, it's not hearsay anymore, baby. This is what it is. Like,
I had a very clear visual of that scene in my head, down to where she like knelt down next to him and was like, when was the last time you talked to your brother? I was like, you know how like you know how they have the moment like when you're watching like TV shows and it's like a character that's underestimated. Yes. And you're thinking like, oh, like what's gonna happen to this character? That scene, it was like, so like, oh, you thought you was gonna shoot me?
You thought.
Not only that, but like while you die, I'm going to drag you.
Yes. Like drag you, expose you for the bad brother you were. How dare you?
And then at the end of it was like, well, I guess now you'll talk to your brother.
And when the part that really sent chills down my spine is how the jawbone is the only thing that's ever left. And that's when we're introduced to that. Right. That side effect of her powers. And I was like, wow. And I really want to know what the symbolism of that is because.
Yeah, I tried to look it up because I was like, there's nothing like everything in Nnedi's stories are symbolic in some sort of way. Like it might be subtle, but because it's like, why is it that his jawbone was left? Why is it that in another scene she thought that it was like the long part of their arm?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why are these like, and then you're making it a point to always tell us what part of the body is left. Like, is this something we're supposed to be paying attention to? I wrote down every body part.
Really?
Because I didn't know, because in my brain I was like, why? Why do I need to know that his jawbone was left? But then you remember in her flashback, she had an instance with, was it the man that tried to drag her into an alley? Mm-hmm. And the only thing that was left was his jawbone and his teeth.
Mm-hmm. And they were all yellow and like not good, like not.
I was like, what?
Yeah, it was very interesting, that part, because I spent a lot of the story trying to, like, I noticed the symbolic things, or what at least stuck out to me as symbolic, what I thought were symbolic. And I spent a lot, while I was listening to the story, I spent a lot of time trying to piece things together. For example, the first thing I noticed was when, after we leave that scene and the story then flashes back and it's like, let's tell you how she became Sankofa and what happened in the past. And we go back a decade to her 4-year-old self. The first thing that stuck out to me was how imaginative she was as a child, and how, you know, her and her grandfather had this bond of translating the stars and translating what she would see in the sky, and how he taught her about constellations and the skies and all that stuff, and how she would draw these pictures in the sand and translate what she saw and give them her own names. And like, it was like this big thing. So right away I was like, okay, so something that, you know, something about her powers definitely has something to do with like space or the stars or
the
something.
Star writing.
Because right away I was like, okay, my like antenna was up, and I was like, okay, this is not normal. Like 4-year-olds don't just start looking at the sky and drawing stuff in the sand and like seeing things. She said she would see things. So she was extremely imaginative. Like even that scene after her box got taken away, which we'll get to, and she started talking to her rabbit, her pet stuffed rabbit, and then the rabbit talked back. And it had this weird dissociative moment of like,
yeah, I forgot about that part.
Was she just being a kid and like pretending, like, you know, when we were kids and our stuffed animals talked back to us, like, because we wanted to be in Toy Story so bad? Or was it like legit her stuffed rabbit like talked to her?
See, that's funny, because when she was like seeing these things, or not the rabbit part, but the part before that, when she would like see things, I thought that was because of her malaria fever. Like that's the way my brain was like, yo, that fever got this 4-year-old wilding.
Okay.
Because remember, like she constantly had like cases of malaria because she said the mosquitoes liked her blood. So that's before she got her power, she was always with the high fever, like just trying to vibe. And as a 4-year-old, I can't imagine what it's like to constantly have a bunch of fevers.
But I feel like if she was feverish, her mom seemed very nurturing. I feel like she would have been in bed.
Well, remember, she kept sneaking out too.
That's true.
She was like, "Oh, mom's in the front talking to her friend, so I used that as my opportunity to go climb a tree." And right. I was like, "That's very kid of you, Fatima, very kid of you."
But yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed, was her imagination was just so rich. She was so vivid. She was always seeing things, drawing things. And the bond she had with her grandfather and how much he taught her, because he saw something in her that was like, this child is special. And then I also like her oneness with that tree and with nature in general. There was a strong theme of like nature in this entire book, and being one with nature, just like she was one with her pet fox, and like how she always felt so comfortable. That fox.
Yeah.
That fox. I'm trying to pull up the name of the fox. Mervyn Pig. But how she always felt so comfortable in the woods. And it first started when she was little with that tree, and how she just like bonded to a freaking tree. It was like this tree. The tree was her bestie. Her and the tree were like this. Yeah. But, so that was another thing that I noticed right away. And I was like, okay, so she has this affinity with nature and being outside and things of that nature. But then we got to talk about what happened. We got to talk about the meteor shower that changed her life.
Yeah, okay. So the meteor shower part is obviously where things start to change, because she said that when it came out of first of all, this seed or rock or some type of space element came out of the sky, landed on the ground. She picked it up. It was as if it was hot to the touch. She dropped it. It went into the ground. And then later on, the roots of the tree presented it to her
In a
in a
box.
box made from the same wood as the tree. I was like, oh, we have officially dropped into this next realm, because now you're telling me she's breathing in and out green smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Like can't feel her hand while she's grabbing onto the seed. And I'm like,
to me, that was when she got her powers.
Yeah,
Because she
that's the best
said
guess I got.
when she picked it up, obviously when you pick up a freaking piece of meteor, you can't even pick it up technically. Like you would have a hole in your hand. You would die. But
Right.
she picked it up and she said she couldn't feel it at first. And then she felt it and she was like, oh, it was hot. And I'm like, girl, hot. It just came from space. How are you still alive? Like, what? And then she drops it. And then, like you said, everything that you said that happened afterwards. And that was when I first had that ominous feeling. Because when we go back in her past, okay, we already know that bad things are going to happen, right? Like, I'm already seeing all this bad stuff, especially when we open up with, like, this loving family. You have this gentle father. You have this nurturing, wonderful mother. You have this older brother that, like, obviously he thinks that his little sister is annoying, but he obviously loves her.
Yes.
And it's like this close-knit family unit. Her parents were farmers. They lived in this cute little town. Everything seems to be going well. I'm just like waiting for the other shoe to drop. So when the meteor thing happened, I was like, oh, it's the beginning of the end. And when she was presented that box and she took it and she was like, and I talked to the stone, and I was like, the whole time I'm like, no, don't bond with this alien. Like,
I think that then another thing was how like she was very open about it too. Like she was like, Mom, Dad, look, I got this box and it has like this weird thing in it. And her parents were just like, you and your imagination.
yes.
I was just like everything that I just read tells me that y'all should be very concerned. Your daughter was out here. Now all of a sudden she no longer has a fever, no longer has any signs of malaria, just stops getting it all together, and nobody's questioning this.
Nobody has any concerns.
Yeah. But we got to talk about this, because Erica also brings up a very good point. I found it interesting that her brother knew what she could do and encouraged her and tried to help her control it. That wasp scene,
I know,
was interesting.
You know what it is?
I don't even know how to explain it, because in my mind, I was like, okay, so her brother must understand that in order for her to use her power, she has to be in pain.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why he has to wait for her to get stung. Also, kids out here just catching wasps, can't relate.
Can't relate at all.
I was like, that's just not what I did as a kid, but cool. All right.
I liked that her brother wasn't afraid of her. I mean, obviously at that point, they didn't know the deadly side of her powers and, you know, what it was really about. But I liked that he wasn't afraid of her. He didn't turn from her. He didn't kind of ostracize her or get scared of her. He was just kind of like, okay, we gotta control this. We gotta make sure that you can get back to normal and get back to, like, okay, let's do what we always do to get it back in control. And I was like, oh, what a good big brother.
This is so true, Sherry. Her brother probably hit her to discover it the first time. That's so true. They probably got in a kid argument about something, and she started glowing green, and they were both like, holy crap.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, okay. He was probably like, sis, what's going on?
Right. Because, you know, when their dad came up, like, he looked at her like, shut up, don't say nothing. And I was like, he also knows
so typical
that this is not normal. and doesn't want anything to happen to his little
Right.
sister. So he was literally like, shut up.
Yep. It was so funny. They're trying to act like nothing was wrong. They're like, oh, la la. We're just,
Wow.
here.
Heard the hand is all swollen up from these 2 wasp bites. But sure.
But sure.
I was like, no, they are such kids, but it's obvious that the brother knew that, like, though they didn't know what was going on, he knew enough to know that, like, that wasn't okay. Like, something's wrong. And he was trying to actually help her figure it out. It wasn't the best way, but I mean, he was also like 10. So he did the best with what he could do. And I was like, this family is so cute. And then that goes right into the next chapter where she says that she lost her name as everything happened. And I was like,
but before that, we just have to add in the fact that Mervyn Pig broke out of the zoo. Okay, so Mervyn Pig is...
Oh, yeah, he did. I forgot.
So this is an important link because it links her past to her present. It's kind of like the bridge between the 2 parts of her lives is this fox. And there's this fox that escapes from the zoo. And obviously foxes are not native to Ghana.
Nope.
And so obviously it wasn't supposed to be at that zoo. It wasn't even supposed to be in the country. And her mom kind of would giggle about it because they heard on the news, and her mom would be like, they're never going to catch him. They're like, nah, you're never going to get the fox back. And they just kind of laughed about it. And then I thought it was interesting that she soon started to see the fox hanging out by the tree. The tree was such a character. Like, the tree was another character in this novel. But the fox started hanging out by the tree and started basically like living in the tree or around the tree. And I just thought it was interesting that she would always catch glimpses of the fox, especially when certain things would happen. So we have to talk about the incident with the box getting taken away before we move forward. But I found it interesting that okay, hold on. She never... Yeah. Oh, okay. I have to know. Okay, just go ahead.
Because you know how, like, the fox kept... Like, in the backstory, the fox kept popping up at specific times?
Yes! That's what I looked up.
Because obviously, I'm not going to say that the fox was her spirit animal. I'm just going to say that because he kept revealing himself at specific times and, like, he didn't let her touch him.
She didn't tell anybody else. She didn't tell anybody else about the fox.
Right. And for some reason, the fox is up in their tree and she's the only one who's noticing that the fox is there. Yes. Almost as if no one else can see him. So
I wondered about that many times.
I said, what does it mean when a fox follows you? And it says, as a spirit animal, the fox reveals itself during times of great and unpredictable change. With its heightened sense of awareness, the fox compels you to turn up your own senses, gather the information you need, and act swiftly on your decision. The fox symbolizes mental responsiveness.
Wow.
Yeah. It makes sense though, right?
Makes so much sense.
Right.
Okay.
I wrote it down. I literally was like, the fox is important.
So important, because there were so many moments where, because she didn't tell anyone else in her family that she saw the fox. I mean, because it was a conversation piece between her and her mom being like, oh, they're never going to catch him. And then she sees him, and then she starts seeing him around the tree and living in the tree, and she doesn't tell anyone, not even her brother. And you're just like, okay, is she the only person that can see the fox? But then it's revealed later on that it's part of her legend that people know she travels with the fox. So obviously other people can see the fox.
Yep.
That answers so much. So the day that everything kind of changes, because, she finds the rock, seed, whatever you want to call it. She befriends it. She talks to it as if it's a sentient being, telling it all of her secrets. So kind of how she has befriended the tree and given the tree human characteristics, she does the same thing to the seed, bonds with it, becomes her BFF. Well, one day everything changes, and Brittany, I will let you go into this portion.
I didn't like this part, okay, because I was driving to Sephora and I was listening to this part because I did read this book today, and that is complete honesty because the world has been fighting me. But I was on the way to Sephora, so I was listening to it via audiobook, and the way that the narrator reads this scene, like, you kind of have to stop and be like, wait, what? Because essentially she dies. She gets hit by a car.
No, not that scene.
Which one? What did I miss then?
You missed the seed being taken, because that was the scene that changed all of her fortunes. Everything's going well until this is the catalyst. This is the catalyst for pretty much the entire novel. This and that scene that you're about to talk about.
Yeah. So a politician comes, which I'm like, how do they know about this seed? First of all,
they knew because how
he knew that where to go, and then her parents just casually was like, yeah, our daughter has a box of this weird thing. Like, I'm like, why are y'all so comfortable just telling, y'all don't think that there's something you should be concerned about because these grown men have come to ask your daughter about the box that y'all think is just a plaything?
Her parents were very naive.
Right. And the way that he like tried to coax her out the tree, and she and the fox, there's a fox is there in one of the scenes, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was like, they were just looking at him like, no. And then he's like, I was just playing with you. Like, I was just being nice. I'm going to take it regardless. And it was just like,
so disrespectful.
And then he actually said a scene. Hold on. I have it marked because it's like chapter 2, and let's see, because I caught these kind of comments a couple of times throughout the book. Yeah, because he's like, oh, you found something buried here some time ago. Why do you know that? And then he's like, your mother and father told me. They didn't tell you that. Like, they didn't tell you that. It's very creepy that you know about this little box. And why do you know? Because then he says, I'm just really like reading this fast because I have a lot of things underlined in here. Oh, this part where he says, do you believe in aliens? And then he goes, me neither. But the Life Gen Corporation does. And they can locate and track things using satellite and radar. Things like that odd meteor shower 2 years ago. So obviously Life Gen is something we're going to talk about as well, because I was like, first of all, you tried to play this girl. She didn't fall for your tricks. Then you just basically was like, well, you know, I'm big and you're little. I'm going to go ahead and just take this anyway. And takes it. And it's like how do I explain that? It's basically like she didn't matter at all.
No,
it's she like, didn't matter. I came here to pretend that I cared about you, but I really just want what you have. I'm going to take it. And you're going to let me because this is for the good of the country. Like, what? And also, by the way, this thing called Life Gen is watching all of our moves.
Yeah, that was the first time in the story that we're introduced to Life Gen, and we don't get a lot of background on them. He just kind of drops that. And so right away, you know that it's like a very Big Brother is watching type of thing going on right now with them. And if they know precisely where that seed dropped in the meteor shower, my first thought when I heard that is there has to be other seeds. This can't be the only one.
Yes. I was like, so 2 years later, y'all are coming and asking for this one seed?
Ted has a question. Where are the parents in this scene?
Oh, they're in the part. Okay. They're in the house. So the politician is in the house chatting it up with the parents, and his basically like his bodyguard assistant is the one that comes out and tries Fatima's life and steals from her.
And the parents, this is the part that was kind of heartbreaking, because I feel that there's a moment in every child's life where you see your parents put on a mask because they start being fake. And you're just like, wait, what's going on? And this was that moment for her, because she said, okay, my father hates this particular politician because he's corrupt and not a good person, but he's smiling in his face, laughing with him. Him and my mom are kikiing up with this dude. And they literally sold my box to this guy and they don't like him. So what's really going on?
Don't worry, though. They're going to buy her the dress that she's always wanted.
That was like a slap in the face to me. I was like, dang.
I mean, I know that because she's like 5. What was it? She's 6, I think, by this time.
Mm-hmm.
She's 6. So obviously, they could get her, but at the same time, like, and Jerry said, she recognized the fake smile.
She was looking at her daddy like he was a whole new person. She was like, who this man? Harper, who this? Like, this ain't my daddy.
Right. It was like, but you just said old dude was trash. Like, oh.
I know. You really felt for her in that moment because you could see her upbringing and like her manners kick in of like a child stay in a child's place. But at the same time, you could see her struggling like, yo, but that child's place, like, you just took my stuff.
Like, but you just took my stuff. Like, and then not only did you take it, but like you paid my parents for it.
And enough money where it said it paid for school fees for 4 years. It paid for like, was it like a new truck or something?
They got a new truck. The son got a new drone. She got some new stuff. They bought like so much stuff with it. And I'm like,
4 years of schooling paid. Yo, so that must have been an extremely large amount of money.
Then talking about something, well, maybe you'll be an archaeologist when you grow up.
Her parents were very naive because if my child just came in the house with some random box, if they were like, I got this from the ground, Mom, I'd be like, and then started talking to it, taking it everywhere with you, sleeping with it at night. I'd be like,
right. I'd be like, show me where you got this box.
But it said the mom was like going around the town being like, oh yeah, she's so imaginative. She's so creative.
But it's so quick how they dismissed all of her truth because she was a child. And it was just like, this child has done something. Y'all should probably know that she did something.
And look, Ted, it wasn't even the box. It was the rock in the box.
Yeah, we don't know if it was a seed, a rock. I just kept calling it an alien pendant because in my brain, because they said it was smooth. So in my mind, I was like, it's smooth because it went through the multiple layers of the atmosphere at such a high speed to match the meteor shower that when it finally hit the ground, it was a smooth pendant. I kept calling it an alien pendant in my brain. That's how I translated it. It's just like homegirl walk around an alien pendant and her parents are cool.
Right. Okay, let's fast forward and talk about that scene was traumatic. I'm gonna let you talk about it.
The description of the scene was done very well to where I saw the complete accident in my head and I saw it very well, especially as she described herself as flying.
She did. And she could like see all this stuff. And it was so weird because some people say that when you have a near-death experience, time slows down and you become so super hyper aware of everything that's happening. So I attributed that to this as well. But another thing I thought about when I was reading this or listening to this part is if this was a villain origin story, this would be that place where you're like, and this is how they became.
It would be in the background and there would be a voiceover like, so this is when everything hit the fan.
Yes. Like if this was a villain origin story or like even a superhero origin story, because superheroes go through some real bad stuff to become superheroes. So I was just like, this is the moment. But I also was very sad because I could feel that something really bad was about to happen.
The part that broke me was her brother screaming for her. Oh. Like, I can't talk about it too much because I was literally in the car like,
yeah. Oh, I cried.
I don't have waterproof mascara on, so we're just going to like briefly say that after she gets hit by the car, her brother is screaming her name. He is hysterical. Obviously, he's screaming sister, which she has made a point to point out that he doesn't call her that. And it was just like...
And everyone comes running out of all the shops and everywhere that they are to kind of come to the scene of the accident, and
she feels pain.
The way she describes it, you're right, Brittany. I think that it does kind of feel like she died because it's like that place where you're like your spirit disassociates from your body and you're hovering. And you can kind of see. That is what the writing gave me. The writing gave me disassociated from my body, hovering above the crowd. Let me tell you everything I can see. It was so visceral and just like a gut punch. And that's when she starts to describe, like, because of the trauma and the pain that she felt, that's when her power finally came to the forefront, all the way to the forefront. And she said that, you know, she just felt it like burst from her. And obviously she's like in so much pain, like her eyes are closed. And then all of a sudden she says she hears silence and she doesn't hear anything. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional. I can't. And
yeah,
then
I'm just going to sit here for a second and just let you finish that.
she doesn't hear anything. And it's just like this ominous silence. And, you know, she's a child. So she's like 7 years old. She doesn't really understand. So she opens her eyes and this is the part that really broke me, because we as the readers and listeners know exactly what has happened. But her, little Fatima, as a 7-year-old, has no clue. And she says she opens her eyes and everyone's asleep.
Which she's was like, just like, oh, sweetie.
You just know that the realization is going to come, and you're just, oh my God, the pain. You're just like, oh my God. So she opens her eyes and she says everyone's asleep, and, you know, her brother's asleep and his face is turned away from her. And like, she goes, you know, she starts walking around, and she goes into the shops and this and that. She goes into the mosque.
She sees her dad sleeping.
I can't. This is the part where I was like, and she said he was in a prayer position. I can't. And that was another thing in the story. Like, religion was a huge part of the story, and the religion specifically of Islam and the practice of Islam. But that's a side note. But she goes into the mosque and like she finds her father, and he's slumped over in prayer position. And then she goes home. And Mom, I can't take this.
I can't even do this. I thought that this was written so well. It evoked.
So well.
It was only like 3 pages, but it evoked enough emotion for me to have to sit in my car and get my stuff back together, because
I cried.
From a 7-year-old perspective, the way that she wrote this as if a kid who had never experienced death, like, was seeing death. And it was done so well. But as an adult, I was just like, oh my gosh, she killed everybody.
Everybody. And she has no idea. And so as you're reading, you feel that pain, because you know what she's going to have to realize it at some point. And the way that she realizes is because their bodies start decomposing. That's literally how she realizes that everyone's dead. Like, to see your mother decompose in front of you.
She killed an entire city of people
at 7 years old
and had to process it all by herself.
And then she had to go into her room, gather her things in a little satchel, her little school bag, go into her brother's room.
And this is where we get the creation of her name, because
she can't remember her name. That's right.
She does not remember. Like, she remembers the people in her life, but she does not remember her name. It is almost as if her name died when she died. And so she could have the memories before death, but like, to live in the life that she was living after everything, it was as if she was creating a new name, or she needed a new name, and came across her brother's Sankofa bird, which I also looked up because I was like, ooh, no, there's a reason.
Absolutely.
So Sankofa is a word in the Akan Twi, I think it's Twi, Twi, and Fante languages of Ghana that translates to retrieve, literally go back and get. San is to return, ko is to go, fa is to fetch, to seek, and to take. So basically, it's like her name, her new name was a way to take something from the past to bring it with her to the present. And the past that she took was the memory of her brother through the bird that she took with her to go forward.
But even like, you're just right. But even like the symbolism of like, she couldn't even take the bird whole, because she said as she was holding it, it broke. And I'm just like,
and its face was like, its neck broke, and like she was trying to get the egg from it.
Yes.
Those are all symbolisms. Like, do the Googles, people. Like, we'll be on here forever talking about just the symbolisms. This book was so short, but there's so many symbolic things in here. Like I wrote down so much stuff. I haven't even researched all of it, but I'm fairly certain that I'm gonna be shook like as I read each part of it.
So let's fast forward to she's now on her own. She's come to the realization that she accidentally killed everyone, and she's burying it for right now because she can't really deal. And she goes on the road and she decides in this like weird existentialist place that she's in that she needs to find the seed, and it's that the seed's fault that it was taken away, and she's 7 years old, and by it taken away that this is what caused everything to happen, and now she's got to find it because maybe if she finds it, this is the part that broke my heart, everybody would wake up. So she goes on this quest and she goes on the road, and as she goes on the road, yes, oh my gosh, she takes her mom's.
We forgot the wig.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, so she took the Sankofa bird, she took her mom's earrings, and then she took her mom's wig, and I thought it was so symbolic that she wanted those pieces of her mom because when she unleashed her power, when she unwittingly unleashed her power when she was hit by the car, all of her hair burned off, and I remember they pointed that out in the scene. Dr. Nnedi and Okorafor pointed that out, like her short cap of hair burned off, and I think her eyebrows burned off too.
Yeah, she was straight smooth. That's why this picture looks so much more profound to me.
Yes.
Like,
and just like the self-consciousness of a 7-year-old little girl understanding she looks abnormal and wanting to have something of her mom's with her and taking that wig and
her earrings
and getting the mom's earrings, which is on the cover as well. I don't know. I can't talk too much about this anymore. I'm going to start crying. So let's move forward.
Yeah. I'm about to say, can we? Okay. So obviously she's good. There's a couple of different instances in the story after this where we're seeing her grow continually. But I want to focus specifically on Robotown.
Yes.
For a while, because
there's so much to uncover.
There's a lot to discuss with Robotown. So one, I love the combination of culture and technology in this story where, I mean, because in this story, she mentions the 2020 pandemic.
She does.
So
I was shook.
Yeah, I was like, because
the aftermath of a whole town being dead it brings down like their version of the National Guard into the area. The area gets curtailed off, and she ends up sneaking out of town during the chaos, but essentially they bury it in the media and they bury the town to the point where you can't even find it on GPS. And there's some inklings of the situation getting out where like everyone died, and so everyone's afraid that there's going to be another pandemic like the one that there was in 2020. I was like, oh.
I was just like, I really genuinely feel like I know that it was futuristic, but what made it really hit home that it was futuristic was that one comment. And I was like, wow, we already have this in our books, and in the futuristic books that we're getting now, that's considered a past event. Like, how crazy is that?
It's so insane. It's a part of history.
Right. I was just like, okay, so Robotown, which she's already talked about how like after a while people started seeking her out. Like people were afraid of her, but also people realized that there is a power to a peaceful death.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were family members reaching out, finding her and asking to basically ease the pain of their loved ones who were suffering, being in a coma for 8 years, stomach cancer, like all that kind of stuff. And to me, like, I know like she didn't, because remember how she mentioned with the guard where she was like, your brother, his wife, his family, and his friends asked me to relieve him from this pain. Like, you don't know that. And it's just like, I think that this is like, it's like, yes, she's the adopted daughter of death, which can be a negative thing, but to purposely put these parts in the story, I feel like it's another symbol for me
Mm-hmm.
because death is not always bad.
Right.
Death does not always mean the end. Death could literally just be a moment in time for them. Because, you can go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the interesting thing is that as we're kind of having this realization as the story goes on with different events, I feel like Sankofa is also discovering that within herself because she is fighting so much guilt from what she unwittingly did to her family and her entire town. And so obviously she sees her powers as negative. Yes. And then it's kind of as she goes through this hero's journey, as Jerry said in the comments, which I think is absolutely true.
Perfection.
Definitely a hero's journey. She starts to reconcile all of the bad things that come with what she has within her, but she also starts to see the good things too, because she starts to realize this is me. Like, I can't divorce this part of me from me. Like, it is me. Like, I'm one with this thing. And I don't know, it's just like a beautiful progression of Sankofa really coming into her own and recognizing the beauty of what she can do. And that light that emanates from her, she starts to like stand in it, like stand tall in it and embrace it. And Robotown plays a huge, huge part in her eventually coming to grips with who she is and accepting herself. And the part of Robotown that really touched me was, like Brittany said, people had started to seek her out. So even though there were people that are afraid of her, when she comes into Robotown, we have this huge shop that sells electronics.
Jelly Tellies, I think.
I think the name of the store was like the name of the lady, but she named it, she like faked that she was a man.
It was like Mr. Hold on. It was Mr. something. I don't remember, but yeah, because she called Sankofa over.
And her name was
Al-Hajja.
Al-Hajja.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which is a Muslim name, but Al-Hajja is the owner of this shop and sees her and knows who she is right away. And there's like a line wrapped around the block because they're waiting for like a new drop. Like, she's about to get in all these like the new latest stuff at midnight, and people are waiting for the drop. And everyone in the line is scared of her, but they're not scared enough to leave their spot. Okay.
I was like, technology will have you out here at risk of death.
Literally at risk of death.
We are still going to get our updated technology. I was like, ooh, I feel so shaded.
Yeah, it was hilarious because she made it a point to point that out. Like, yeah, they were scared and they scurried away, but not far enough away to lose their place in line. I was like, I can't. But Al-Hajja sees her and is like smiling at her and welcoming, and she's like, do you know who I am? And long story short, Al-Hajja like embraces her, like talks to her, reveals that it's her shop and that she doesn't have a husband and she was too scared to name it after her and not like a fictional man partner because, you know, patriarchy. Right. She takes her up into the shop, walks her up the stairs, shows her this feeds her, shows her this beautiful blue room. And it was like, my daughter used to stay here before she went overseas to, you know, study. You can take a nap. Right. I was like, whoa, okay. She takes a nap. And then after that, she's like, I need your help. You know, like I'm having this drop come. And there are these robbers basically that have been threatening me, sending me texts saying they're coming to get my stuff. So they form like
robber hackers.
So they form like an alliance of sorts and a partnership where that scene where the robbers came, look, I know they looked at this little girl and this woman and this crowd of people and they were like, us with our guns and like, we're these men, like, you better give up your stuff. And I'm like, y'all came to the wrong store.
I just laughed because they keep saying that she looks like she's maybe 9 or 10 years old because she's so petite. So in my mind, like imagine this like little girl just standing
Tiny
there
little
and then all of
girl.
a sudden start glowing green.
Yes. Yes. And then they just all die.
No, they run away. Like she was really proud of herself that she can control it. And like, oh, okay, well, people saw what was happening and a lot of them ran away. So
ran
that's
off,
good.
yeah.
I'm not gonna chase them. They just ran away. So they know what's up, basically, is what she
basically. So that was really cool. And that was kind of like the beginning of a beautiful friendship between Al-Haja and Sankofa. And Al-Haja takes her in. She starts to form a sense of like belonging. Al-Haja is kind of like a surrogate mom to her. She takes her to see Wulogu, I think is her name, the Umam's wife. Wasn't her name Wulogu?
Me scrolling.
I
just had the scene marked too.
And it felt very much like, okay, you don't have to be a monster. We're going to take you to find God. It was very
Sister
like
Kumi. Sister Kumi.
Sister Kumi? Who was Wulogu then? Oh no, that was the name of her town that she was from. Okay, never mind. So she takes her to see Sister Kumi, who is the Imam's wife. And essentially she's just like the religious leader is the Imam of the mosque because they're Muslims. And what was her name again? I always forget her name. Sister Kumi. Sister Kumi is his wife. Yeah. So Al-Haja takes Sankofa to see Sister Kumi, and it's like a come to Jesus moment. Well, I should not say that. A come to Allah moment. And this part made me kind of angry because I was just like, everyone just assumes that she's evil. Everyone assumes that she's like the devil's handmaiden or something.
Because when they don't understand something, it's obviously demonic.
Right. Yeah. And the part where Sister Kumi is like, are you a Muslim? Like, do you understand? Da, 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 da. Are you evil? Basically, like.
Yeah, the little girl's like, dude, like, I am Muslim. Like, I practice, like, I am Muslim. And then she's like, well, don't worry. Like, that means there's hope for you. What did she say? Like, I underlined it. Hold on. I don't know. For some reason, that really bugged me.
The whole scene bugged me because it felt like a forced conversion. Like when people send people to like conversion therapy and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was gross. The part that really made me sad was when she was like, when Sankofa was like, well, I have a question for you. Like, what is this power like that I have? Like, is it bad? And of course she didn't have an answer for her. I was like, girl, she don't have an answer for you.
Right.
But she's a child, you know, she's still fairly young. And she's just like, I want to know, am I evil? Like
the comment that made me mad on that scene was because she was like, do you believe in Allah? And you know, she's like, yeah. And she's like, well, good, because even Jen can be converted. I'm like,
and so she's like, I'm not a genie.
She's not a Jen, sis. Like, no. Like, y'all have literally created, instead of just trying to help this girl, y'all have created her to be this
monster,
out-of-world monster, like from the jump. And then you thought your first thing was not to see if she's okay, but we can convert her. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just let this go because this is not a big part of the scene. Because what we learned later, I learned why we even got introduced to Sister Kumi in the first place. So,
yeah, that scene was frustrating to read because, like I said, the heartbreaking question. Yeah, what she specifically said was not, "Am I evil?" but "Why did Allah make me this way?" or something like that. And of course, Sister Kumi doesn't have an answer for you. But what ends up happening with Sankofa in this idyll in Robo Town is she starts to suppress everything. She puts on the hijab,
hides.
She starts
because they told her to.
She kind of is like, okay, I can be normal. Like I can do this. Yeah, I can suppress this. I can totally be normal, and I can stay here, and I can have friends, and I can live in this blue room with Sister Al-Haja, and everything will be fine. And I'm just like, you just see this yearning for acceptance, this yearning for love, for community, for family, and it's sad because you just know the other shoe is going to drop because you can't suppress who you are. Like, that's just not going to work for long. But you can continue.
So this is the part where, Big Brother is watching. It gets reiterated because this is when we're introduced to the RoboCop of the town. So at first, I'm thinking, at the moment that she chooses to suppress and try to make herself more likable, by suppressing like that part of her, because I can get it. She's a girl who's not belonged anywhere because everybody's been so afraid of her. And so I get that part. But at that point where she suppresses, we learn that there is this robot that has been in the town, and the people are very proud of this robot. And, they take the time to shine it, and it looks great and all this stuff. But the robot is constantly looking at Sankofa and
like staring her down.
All of a sudden, every time she look up, there's a drone following her. And she knows that this isn't right. Like, she knows that this is awkward. But the people of the town are so used to the RoboCop, so used to the drones, that they're like, the RoboCop's just like a nosy old woman. Like, when they don't get gossip, they just follow you to figure it out more. And I'm just like,
it's not normal, guys. It's not normal.
All I kept thinking in my head was like, iRobot done told y'all to stop doing this, and y'all keep doing this. Like,
for real.
But how do I explain this? Because obviously,
we'll talk about the part of what we learn, Sister Kumi's connection to the robot.
Yes. It's like, so she's going around the town. She's assimilating. People are the teenagers are definitely more willing to talk to her than the older people, which makes sense because kids are a little bit more open to things when their parents don't teach them hatred. So they're like, yo, like, Sister Kumi is the one that created the robot. She used to be an electrical engineer.
She programmed it.
Yeah, she programmed it and everything. She used to do that before she got married. And I'm like, I find it funny that we get introduced to the RoboCop after we meet Sister Kumi at the very same time. Like, it's like, oh, BT Dubs, like, she the controller of that. Like, she did that. Like, she handles that. And it's just like, oh, okay, interesting.
Yep.
But then as the time goes on, she notices the drones are following her more. And very often, everything and everybody else is like, it normally stops following you after a while. And she's like, this drone follows me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, never not follows me. Always following me around, always looking to see what I'm doing. I don't get any peace. Like, it's constantly following me. And
then we have the incident.
This one hurt my feelings for Sankofa.
Me too.
Because I think that she just wanted a moment of peace and quiet.
Yeah.
And she forgot. It was like basically like it's like she knew the drone was connected to RoboCop, but like it didn't really click in like how they were connected.
She didn't know the severity. And something that we haven't spoken of before is the fact that Sankofa, with the touch of her hand or whatever, touch of her basically against technology, completely kills it. Mm-hmm. There's a scene that outlines this explicitly when she first leaves Wulogu after she's accidentally killed everyone. And this man sees her on the side of the road and tries to like pick her up basically. Mm-hmm. Not in a sinister way, but just he's like, I have young daughters. I'm concerned for you. And she keeps trying to tell him to leave her alone. But he's like, all right, I'm going to call the cops. And so she accepts the ride from him. But the second she touches his car, she shuts off, kills it, and it's just can't come back on. He goes into a rage, starts attacking her. She kills him. So that's where we learn like what her powers do to technology. Yes. So that makes this scene all the more because she like avoids technology.
Yes,
once she learns how her and technology do not mix, she actively avoids it. So for her to be so annoyed and so bothered that she snatches this drone and basically like kills it because she touched it. I think it said that she like crushed it too.
Well, she didn't crush it. She literally just grabbed it out the air, and because she touched it, it immediately died. Um, which made the town people, because obviously the townspeople are very aware of the drones. They just don't care about them because they think they're just a part of everyday life. And this causes the RoboCop to get distracted, and he causes a car collision.
A fatal accident.
Yeah, because he controls everything in the town. So the intersection is where he also controls it. And she runs to her room, right? And she cries herself to sleep, and she wakes up to people banging on the door. This is the part that starts to hurt my heart. Yes. Because she talks about how like she felt like she was going to belong. She opens the closet, and we learn that she's going to start school because she's been there so long that she proved to the people that she's not going to hurt them.
She's assimilated into their society.
Fully assimilated. And the moment that she fully assimilates, oh, snap, we forgot. She also found the alien pendant again.
Oh, God.
Like, she found the alien pendant. And then after she found the alien pendant, then that's when the drone situation happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this damn alien pendant thing is just...
It's like an omen. And then whenever she is in possession of it, an unfortunate series of events quickly
always happens.
So essentially, they come get her from Al-Hajjah's house. They drag her out onto the streets. You can see this mob has formed, and they're extremely angry. Then all of a sudden, Sister Kumi just shows up, her and her husband, the imam, and she has the remote control for the RoboCop, and she basically asks the RoboCop to tell his side of the story. Basically, they form an informal like court hearing.
Yes, with her. A robot, artificial intelligence that has clearly evolved in a way that can have emotions. Let's just talk about that. It's like,
yeah, that was creepy.
I was like, so like the 3 laws of robotics, like y'all still out here doing this? Mm-hmm. Like, basically. Every story that has robots always ends the same way. Why are we still doing this? Why? Like, RoboCop basically said she was a distraction because she doesn't have a digital footprint. And I needed to know who she was. And I couldn't figure out who she was. And it's not fair that I couldn't figure out who she was. But like, I needed to know who she was because I need to know everything, because I keep the report and I do all of this and that and the third. And you're just like, you report to who? Because Sister Kumi is acting like you don't report to her either. So like, who do you report this to? Why are you so adamant that you need to know who she is if she's not causing any problems? Because to the town, you are here just to keep violence down. So if she's not causing any problems, why do you need to know who she is so bad?
That was definitely a red flag. Also, the fact that the robot was literally going crazy, trying to explain why he was distracted, and he said she is confusion. He kept saying she is confusion. She brings confusion. He kept saying that over and over, and he was like, I made a mistake. Almost like, obviously he's never made a mistake. Right. So after this informal court hearing where she's basically judged and the verdict is she's guilty, the town goes crazy and starts attacking her. So during this traffic incident, essentially what happened is when the RoboCop got distracted and said it was green instead of red, a car didn't stop. There was a collision in the intersection. A little boy was hit and killed because the driver said they didn't see him. So this whole scene, the mother has been like wailing over the body of her child. And then all of a sudden, right when this informal hearing is wrapping up, the mother just comes out of nowhere and just was like, I don't know what she says. She says like, you are an abomination or something. I don't know. She's
throws a rock at her first. She throws a rock because obviously we've gone back to stoning.
Oh, it was intense. This scene was very hard to listen to. I literally felt sick to my stomach listening to the scene because you felt Sankofa struggle because she so badly did not want to do what happened last time that happened in Wologu. She was like, I don't want to hurt these people. They've taken me in. They've given me a home. And the part that really broke me is she was like, Al-Haja is too close to me. Like, she's too close. Like, I can't lose control. She's way too close.
Or how like they were like, get out. And she's like, well, you have to let me. And I was just like, they gonna die.
Yeah, it's that place where people are so enraged that they no longer are operating out of logic because they obviously know who she is. They know what she can do, but it's like they're so upset and they're so hurt that they're just taking it out on her. And there becomes this moment where they do overpower her and they're like, oh, we can kill her. We can get her. And they just start like wailing on her. And I'm like, she is a child. And yes, I understand that she has these powers, but this is not okay. And so obviously her powers unleash because they're trying to kill her. And she ends up killing the people that were like in her immediate circumference. And that causes everybody else to be like, whoa. And
yeah, in my mind, I visualize, because at this point she's on the ground. So I visualize all the people that were hitting her and the people that were around her. They were all like just slumped over in like a line, essentially. And the people behind them going.
Yeah, they said that everyone's a shock. The two things that really, really, really hurt my soul was the whole time this was happening, she was trying so hard to suppress it because she did not want to hurt anyone, even though they were literally trying to kill her and they were harming her. The pain she was feeling, not just the physical pain, but the emotional pain she was feeling because she felt like, once again, I don't belong. Once again, I can't stay here. I don't belong here. I've stayed here.
Her powers are like, just let me, I don't know. Tell me, just let me go. Let me do this. And she's like,
and she was like, I just wanted some peace. I just wanted a place. I just wanted to belong. And then the second part that really was sad was that unfortunately Al-Haja did perish because she was too close and she was trying to like protect her and like get to her. And it was just like all this stuff. And the one person who like took her in and was kind of like her mom figure and like was super kind to her, once again, she has taken the life of someone that she loves. I don't know. It just was devastating.
Really bad for her.
But
this is where the part gets creepy though, because when she runs away, she encounters the freaking RoboCop again, where he lets her know that he reports to LifeGen and then tases her out.
This is the part that really was confusing to me because he tasers her, but y'all, she wakes up in a grave. They tried to bury her.
They thought that they could bury her alive. Like, what?
I was so shaken. This part was so incredibly symbolic because we have had 2 deaths and 2 resurrections in the story. The first death is the initial traumatic, horrific scene in Wologu where she kills her entire town and her family. And she's rebirthed as Sankofa and she starts this journey, right?
Yeah.
And then the second death is this one of the death of trying to hide yourself, the death of trying to be somebody you're not, the death of trying to deny who you are, the death of not accepting yourself, not accepting your full powers, not accepting the past and trying to find a way to reconcile it with your present. This death was super symbolic because they literally tried to bury her alive and she literally rises up out of this grave and is like reborn. And she even says, like, when she comes to, she has full control of her powers now. She said before it was like touch and go and it was like, oh, I don't know. And now she like can fully control it because she has this moment where she sits up in the dirt grave and she like, for the first time since she accidentally let it loose because she was, protecting herself when they were trying to kill her. For the first time, she purposefully like brings her light out. It was such a beautifully written scene of like her just like lighting up.
And also she lights green, specifically green, the color of nature and prosperity and life. Like she starts to embrace her life, hence why she can make her light glow on command. I was like, this is
I
so
felt
beautiful.
Chills. I was so proud of her. And she was just like, I'm going to stand up. Like, this is me. I was like, Yes. You better work.
I was like, yes, boo, this is you. Yeah.
Yes. It's like she fully embraces herself and like, you know, obviously, what's his face is there by her side.
I forget his name. I literally called
Marvin Pig,
which I think is a fantastic name.
Mervin Pig is how it was said in the audiobook. I have no idea how it's written.
Yeah, it's Movin. It's written as Movin Pick, which is like a hotel chain or something. Which
it's pronounced Mervin Pig.
Yeah, Mervin Pig it makes me laugh because it makes me want a fox, first of all, but like it just makes me laugh. I like this scene because she finds a peace within herself and she finds her own home again and just loves it and enjoys being in it. I love that either the children or the really old people in this story are very open to her and welcoming to her.
They are. Like she makes her home in the forest.
It's great.
And she finds these two old men who I guess live somewhat adjacent to her little forest clearing. And you're right. Like when she first approaches them, they know exactly who she is, but they're not like running and screaming in fear. I feel like there's something about age that when you've lived to a certain point, you're just like, whatever. Like you've seen so much in your life, you've experienced so much.
You're like, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die.
Right. You're like, what do I look like running from death at this point? I'm like 97. It is what it is.
If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. But I'm gonna be right. Like, how you doing?
Right. And so she strikes up this friendship with these two old men, and they like exchanging stories and knowledge, and they basically teach her how to farm and garden, and she starts cultivating this beautiful like little garden. Yes. I can't. Now you're gonna have that stuck in my head, Deja. Thanks,
Deja.
Oh my gosh. But so it's also interesting because every time Sankofa gets comfortable in this story, the universe is like, nah, don't get too comfy. But this is like
I felt like they screamed at her not to get too comfy.
Oh yeah. So this scene, I'm gonna let you describe this final pivotal scene.
So obviously her home skillet, her home slice Movin Pig freaked out and in true animal form was like, let me dip the F out of here. She knows something is wrong, but she doesn't really know. So she thinks, let me go where my fox went. And like Tarzan, like the beginning of the Tarzan movie, a leopard comes out. And all I picture...
this gave me all the Tarzan vibes! I was like, yes. The leopard is always the villain, okay?
The leopard is always the villain. I was like, yo, why are the big cats always the villain?
Like, also, always. I in my mind, I was like, how long has this leopard been watching her?
Okay.
And like stalking her because it clearly knows her habits. Yes. It knows her roots. It knows where she lives.
And then at this point, I'm reading the book and I'm like, run! Forgetting that she has powers. And ironically, so does she. But I found this part interesting. So remember how in this part of the scene, she has talked about how she hasn't really had to use her powers except for mosquitoes.
Yes.
So she's been living peacefully, has not had to use her powers or anything. But with this leopard scene, she starts to use her powers again. And they weren't working to the full effect in the beginning. It was almost as if because she was just using her powers to stop the leopard, it wasn't enough. Like she needed to embrace her power again in order for her power to work. And when it finally worked, it was like last minute slump, but it did work. And
but it didn't work on him the way that it worked on others. Like we didn't get that whole incineration where remember how it would describe how she would literally burn them to it would describe everything burning, like the tendons and this and this and this.
But remember, before she was buried, she didn't have as much control as she thought she did. She has a different level of control now.
That's true, because up until the present day scene that the book opens up with the bone, the only other bone scene we got was when she accidentally killed the guy, the hitchhiking guy. Everything else people would just slump over.
Yeah.
It
And
wasn't
the
necessarily
guard, she
bones.
clearly didn't care about. So there was
Yeah. That is very interesting. I never realized that, but you're absolutely right. So the leopard slumped over, just like everybody else had slumped over,
Yeah.
up until that point, with the exception of the hitchhiker guy. But yeah. So with the death of the leopard comes like her fully coming into her own, and I think she also realized in that moment, because she accepted her
can't keep
death at one
hiding.
point. She accepted her death at one point. She was just like, I guess this is how I'm gonna go. Like, and then, because she was trying her powers and it wasn't working. So she accepted her death. But then when her powers finally worked, I think she realized too, like, how much she wanted to live.
And I also found this scene to be more of a representation of like, you can't stop being who you are. Like, because when she was in the bush, yeah, she was quote unquote happy, but she wasn't being who she was called to be. Because the moment that she stepped out of the bush and almost got hit by that bus, everybody knew who she was. She fully embraced it and then ended up with like a whole new satchel, because it was basically telling her like, get up, get out the bush, and go do what you need to do.
Also, the triggering moment of when she knew something was wrong, when she was walking home in the dark, right before the leopard leaped out and she wasn't quite sure what it was. That was such an interesting thing of like, she felt something crawling down her leg.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And she couldn't really
her
see what it
period.
was because it was dark. And it was like that moment she got her period. And I thought that was interesting. And that scene where she almost, after she kills the leopard, when she almost gets hit by the bus and the bus driver stops, that was such a beautiful scene, because in that moment, so many of the women and some of the men who were on the bus like came to her aid. Even after knowing everything about her, knowing everything that happened in Robotown, they were, you know, like the lady who gave her,
they were told that she was dead. Remember, they had started spreading the rumor that she was buried somewhere dead. So
spoke too soon. But the lady who gave her the sanitary pad and like was like, do you know how to use this? And they gave her food and like a new satchel, and like just the care that came from these complete strangers was so beautifully like symbolic of this new life that she was about to walk into.
Yeah.
And so after being so beautifully cared for by these like strangers, she now starts her journey back home. And this was the most poignant part of the novel for me, because it was like returning to where it all began in Wologu, and like finally facing the past and finally coming to terms with everything that had happened. Yeah. And it was just such a beautiful scene of her going back to the town and recognizing the town was still there. There were new occupants now.
She's also a walking legend, because there are now stories about her that have some truth, but obviously not some truths. And she's just had to just accept the fact that she is a story to be told.
Yeah, because when she leaves Wologu the first time, she's 7. And she's returning as a 14-year-old who's now fully become a woman. She just had her period. She's come into her own. And she's finally able to face the past and what happened. And the part that really made me boo-hoo was when she went back to her house and she could see like her, you know, all the memories just started coming back. And like
somehow her house stayed the same.
Her house stayed the same, except for it had been gutted on the inside, and like all the photos and everything, basically all the proof that her family had ever lived there was gone. But her house was unoccupied, even though the whole town, for the most part, was reoccupied by new people. And she went back to her house and she felt all these, you know, things and all these memories. And then she finally goes back to the backyard to the tree. And that's when she just lets it out. She just cries. She thinks about her dad. She thinks about her brother, her mom. She remembers all of the good times, all the love. I mean, I was literally boo-hooing. Like, I was listening to it and I was, because I could feel her pain.
I was sitting in my chair like, man, she's been holding that in for 77 or 8 years. She held that in.
I felt her grief. I felt her pain. I felt her finally being able to let it go. There have been numerous times in this story that she had tried to destroy the seed with little results. The seed never was destroyed. So in this scene, she literally returns it back to the earth and back to like the roots of the tree, and the roots of the tree accept it
and crack it right in half
and destroy it. And it was so symbolic of like, it is finished. Like, we are done. Like, it was very much like Jesus dying on the cross being like, it is finished. Like, we are good. Like, it's over.
I mean, yeah, but then this is the part that I am confusion.
Oh,
this is read it.
The part that I was like, I need
trying
to
like this particular scene. I reread twice because I thought that I had skipped a page.
Okay, let's dive in. Because this is how the book ends, essentially.
Yeah, so if you have not read the book, I don't recommend you listen to this part because I'm just going to read it verbatim. Me trying to explain it won't make sense. So she says, in the night, the view was like a galaxy of green stars. They shine from the base of almost all the trees, all except the base of hers, because her seed had been crushed. No one had spent time in the trees as she did. Had that been why the seed was offered to her, or was it solely because of her skywards? What would these grow into? And now that Life Gen has entrenched itself in Woolugoo, were they going to harvest them? International corporate level remote control. That would be bad, she muttered. And so she brought forth her light. When she did, all the seeds glowing in the soil brightened. She pushed her light to grow brighter. The seeds brightened some more, and then some more, then even brighter. And this time she did it on purpose.
I took it to mean that she, like...
That's okay.
Yeah.
Because Life Gen is all up in her city, stealing her resources, because technically speaking, she's so, like, used by international corporations. She would be a fantastic weapon.
Also, they're trying to harvest more weapons, right? Because she got her powers from the seed.
Yes.
And from the initial contact that she had with the seed, but the seed also then came out of the earth from the base of the tree, and she was presented with it. So it gave me that vibe of like Life Gen trying to replicate what happened with her with other people, and maybe people they could control.
Right.
So I just took it to mean that she just took it all out, including herself. She ended it.
With the help of the other seeds, I think that's what I think.
I don't know if she completely wiped out Woolugoo again. I hope not.
I don't know what she wiped out, but I know because she has the power to wipe out one city, a whole field of them have got to have the ability to wipe out way more.
Right.
So we know what happens when her light gets bright.
It was definitely open-ended. I was like, either she just completely destroyed that entire field of trees and like everything's gone, including herself, and she sacrificed herself for the greater good, or she sacrificed herself for the greater good, the field and the entire town again, because how could the town not be affected?
Right. It left me with a lot of questions. I literally went back and reread it, and I'm like, yo, did she just kill everybody?
It felt like poetic justice in a way, because it's almost like I didn't see what her future was going to be.
I just saw Life Gen trying to ruin her life.
Right. Like, she'd literally been on the road since she was 7 years old. After this, she lost everyone, and she was never able to fully move past it. And even though she returned home and she came to terms with it, she still couldn't move past it. So I didn't really know what type of future she was going to have. And like you said, it was going to be a future in captivity with Life Gen, like trying to control her or experiment on her and stuff. They had already been watching her.
They already told her, like, we're trying to figure out what to do with you. And when we figure out what to do with you, we will find you. And I'm like,
so if that was the end, and if she just completely just took everything out, including herself, it was kind of like it felt right to me. Like it didn't feel sad to me. It felt like that. I felt okay with that. I was like,
I wasn't sad considering that there is a long history of international people dipping into Africa and taking things that don't belong to them. So if that was the way to stop them, I'm not. The way that she described the new town that she walked into, it sounded like it was colonized.
Yes.
And gentrified.
Very much so.
So I don't want us to get tagged or like I don't want us to get any like strikes. So I'm trying to say this properly. I just feel like that was a very loud symbol about what gentrification and colonization can do when they don't belong somewhere. There we go. I said it right.
I mean, you said it perfectly. Her first interaction when she came back into town was with two people that had American accents that clearly weren't from there, and that looked at Mervyn Pig and were like, "Cute doggy," and took a selfie or a picture and moved on with their. Away. I immediately was like, "Something ain't right."
But then they kept making like they even talked about how Life Gen provided the medicine and the Life Gen provided this and Life Gen gave them that. And I was like, I can see where this is going. Also,
me too,
yes.
Deja. Me too. I was like,
me too, I was like, this is so disrespectful. Like, y'all are. But that's how I knew that, like, that clearly the people in the town didn't know who she was, because everybody who was native to that area knew who she was. But these new invaders essentially had no idea who she was.
No idea.
Hence why they called her Fox a dog.
Who knows? Maybe they were there to cultivate the seeds.
That's what she thought they were trying to do. But considering that she is the seed, like she is the seed, like her power came from the seed and the seeds glow when she glows.
It was a very remote control moment.
Yes. It like the irony of that. It's like, oh, so that's why she called this book Remote Control. Bet. Mm-hmm. I wish this was longer. I know I picked it because I said it was shorter, but genuinely, I enjoyed reading this book. I felt like there was so much to get out of like 150 pages.
It was so chock full of just rich moments. I was really impressed by how much character development she was able to do in such a little amount of time. Again, highly, highly, highly recommend the audiobook by Adjoa Anjo. It was so good. It was brilliantly done. And I'm so sad that it's over because I was enjoying it so much. And I literally could not stop listening to it. I listened to it straight through because it's 4 hours. So
yeah, it's very quick read, guys. Very quick.
But it just draws you in and you can't stop listening. Like some audiobooks, you have to like take a break or like you come back to it. This one, I was like, no, I need to know. I need to know what that is.
Also, what was I about to say? Oh, if you want to hear more thoughts, because tomorrow, now that I've officially read the book, I'm going to go watch Chloe's review from Thistle and Verse. I'm going to go watch her review. So if you want to get some more remote control things, she posted a video about remote control like a month ago. And I've just been waiting to read the book, talk about it here, and then go watch her video. So I'm also shouting out Chloe from Thistle and Verse if you want more remote control things. But as we are at the end of our book discussion, it is now time for Oshley to announce to you what book she has chosen for May and June.
Yes. So for May and June, I kind of wanted to do something lighthearted. And I also wanted to go more into the autobiographical lane. Mm-hmm. So I have chosen, drum roll please, The Meaning of Mariah Carey by Mariah Carey.
Look, I'm actually very excited because I heard that Mariah Carey lived a very crazy life. So if
Look,
I gotta read, because I'm not a big autobiography person. In my adult life, I've only read Michelle Obama's.
really?
So yeah, I'm just not an autobiography person. I consider it a chore a lot, but I feel like she has enough mess in her life that I'll find it entertaining. So
I have heard that it is so interesting. And if you are an Audible member, I believe the audiobook is narrated by her. So you'll get that extra
it's
bonus
an
of
exclusive Audible thing. I've tried to search all the other
it's really
audiobook
annoying.
platforms so that I could give you guys options, but there are no options. The audiobook is an exclusive Audible thing.
But I mean, I guess technically the price of the exclusive audiobook from Audible is the same price as, the actual book if you were to go buy the physical book, the hardcover. So I guess it just depends on which way you want to go with it. If you are going to spend money on it. I know my library has a copy of the book, so I went ahead and downloaded it. So I plan on reading the book first and then listening to the audiobook as we get closer to the live so that I can kind of be fresh on the
Yeah,
things that
see,
happen.
I'm going to see if my library has it first because again, don't really do autobiographies. But if it doesn't, I'm going to have to buy the actual book and just have a bunch of tabs in it so I know like what places to stop at because I don't have Audible and I am just like adamant against getting Audible because Amazon takes enough money.
Understand that.
Yeah. Also, if you don't want to read it, I also understand that because again, it is an autobiography and that is not really up a lot of people's genres. So you can be like Deja and just come back in June and just listen to the spoilers because I'm sure we're gonna have lots of conversation for it.
Yes. I'm excited. I am so excited because Mariah Carey has lived a very colorful, interesting life.
Right.
So I'm here. I'm here for the mess.
One, don't forget, we are having part 2 of our colorism conversation next Sunday. And what we need from you guys is participation. So if you would like to come on this side of the wall and actually talk about your experience with colorism, because the particular topic that we will be addressing in this conversation is the one drop rule. We will have history with Ghost Reader, like we did in the last one, to bring the history up to the present. But we do want to hear the experience as a community, because this is going to be an interesting topic. I don't know if we're going to do 2 parts to this one, but our goal is to do one of this particular colorism topic, as we got a nice list from you guys of the topics that you guys wanted to touch on. And biracial, it was a very popular request. So we are going to try and get that
A biracial
together.
one separate of this one drop one?
The one drop rule and the biracial thing kind of go together a little bit in
They
history.
do.
So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be interesting. Like Justin said that he will be able to participate with us. So I told him he has free reign in terms of like what he wants to present as the history, because he is the history buff that we all love. So I'm sure after his history lesson, there will be some people who want to participate. If you would like to participate and come on this side of the world, you do not have to show your face on camera, but you will need a mic so that the sound can pick up well. You can hit us up over on Instagram. That is Black Pros Club. Or you can send us an email at black.pros3@gmail.com. So
Yes. Just let us know if you want to participate. Like she said, send us an email or DM on Instagram, and we'll respect your wishes in terms of like, we won't reveal your identity if you don't want us to. You don't have to come on camera if
you
you don't
can
want
come on
to.
the show completely anonymous because you can choose a picture. So like, I'm going to stop my camera. You can choose this picture and it could be whatever you want it to be. You can be completely anonymous, just your voice. But we do want to hear what you guys have to say. Because like I said, these are community conversations and though we're cool and we're pretty Black and pretty awesome, we're only a very small little trinket of the Black community. So, well, the title of the topic that we're going to be talking about is the one drop rule and how it applies to us in the present day. So we're not going to ask you what are your opinions? We're not going to say, what are your opinions on the one drop rule? We'll just add, we'll see where the conversation is going. And that's where we will pick you in and pull you in, because you'll be in the background. Don't worry. We're getting much better at this whole guest thing. So you're not gonna, it's I want you to talk about your experience as a Black person. I'm not asking you to talk about anybody else's experience. And I'm also asking you to be respectful when you talk about your experience. So, because again, the one drop rule is a lot more interesting than you think, because I have been trying to research it so that I can get a better understanding for our live. And I was like, white supremacy is trash.
Basically. It always comes back to that, does it not?
It does, and it's really frustrating, but it's trash.
But yeah, I'm super excited for this discussion, and we really need y'all's help, participation, just to make it a more interesting, richer discussion. And that's it.
Yeah. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. Stay Black. If you're not Black, stay as an accomplice. Don't be like these authors that have been popping up showing nothing but racism and crying victim when they lose their book content sponsorship.
What a mess.
It's so bad. I almost requested that we do a special live podcast so that I could drag accordingly.
We probably will do a special one. We just need to I like to talk about things when it's died down a little tiny bit. I
mean, obviously I didn't talk about it because there's just been so much going on this month that I just didn't have the mental capacity to have to drag another white woman. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna wait. But this is interesting. I read this entire book about a journalist who was passing and his white daughter wanted to see if she could call herself Black. There's an interesting conversation. That is a very interesting conversation. That is actually falls into the one drop rule conversation, actually.
It does.
Yeah. We'll see how far we get into it. But yeah, hope you guys have a great week.
Yes. Have a great
we'll
week.
We'll be posting the reminder about the book tomorrow. So
yes. And thank you so much for joining us to discuss remote control. As you can tell, we really enjoyed this read. We highly recommend that you go on and read other books by Dr. Nnedi and Okorafor. And that's it for this book discussion. On to the meaning of Mariah Carey, honey.
We've been over here talking about symbolism. Now we're about to just get into some hood rat shit. Great. Bye, guys.
Bye.